In early 2025, a new force hit Washington, the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Born from a Trump executive order, DOGE's mission was bold: slash government waste and modernize its machinery. The goal was to bring a new era of efficiency to the sprawling federal system. At the helm, Elon Musk, the tech billionaire known for shaking up entire industries. Musk's reputation for innovation and disruption made him the perfect candidate for this ambitious project. Musk wasn't a typical government hire, he was an unpaid special employee, signaling this was no ordinary reform. His involvement was a clear message that radical changes were on the horizon. His approach? Bring Silicon Valley's speed and disruption to the slow-moving federal bureaucracy. Musk aimed to inject a sense of urgency and innovation into the heart of government operations. Musk's team was young, tech-savvy, and mostly outsiders, chosen to challenge the status quo. They were handpicked for their ability to think outside the box and push boundaries. DOGE operated like a special ops unit for bureaucratic reform, bypassing red tape and reporting straight to the top. This streamlined approach was designed to cut through the usual government gridlock. With Musk's celebrity, DOGE's every move made headlines. The media frenzy ensured that the public was constantly aware of their progress and challenges. This wasn't another commission destined for obscurity, it was an aggressive attempt to overhaul government from within. The stakes were high and the nation was watching closely. Musk's vision, not just minor savings, but a radical transformation targeting $2 trillion in annual cuts. This ambitious goal aimed to reshape the financial landscape of the federal government. Critics called it impossible, but for DOGE it was just the starting point. The team was undeterred by skepticism and driven by a shared belief in their mission. The mission was clear: question everything, cut deep, and make government work like a lean tech company. Every process was scrutinized, and no expense was too small to escape their notice. The stage was set for a high-stakes experiment in American governance. The outcome of DOGE's efforts would have lasting implications for the future of federal operations. DOGE's objectives were sweeping: slash spending, cut federal jobs, and overhaul outdated technology. The scale of the plan was unprecedented, aiming to fundamentally reshape how the federal government operated at every level. It wasn't just about saving money, it was about transforming the very DNA of public service. This wasn't about tweaks, it was a blueprint for tearing down and rebuilding the federal state from the ground up. Every process, every agency, every budget line was up for review, with nothing considered too sacred to change. Musk's team saw government as a bloated corporation weighed down by inefficiency and outdated practices, ripe for a hostile takeover by tech logic and Silicon Valley speed. DOGE operatives embedded in agencies acting as internal auditors with a mandate to question everything. They challenged long-held assumptions, scrutinized every expense, and pushed for radical transparency. The initial $2 trillion savings target was later revised to $1 trillion, but the message was clear: nothing was off-limits. Every dollar spent had to be justified, and every inefficiency was a target for elimination. Workforce cuts came via massive buyouts, offering incentives for millions to leave government jobs. The scale of these buyouts was historic, reshaping the public sector workforce almost overnight. Entire agencies like USAID faced defunding as DOGE targeted perceived redundancies. Programs that had existed for decades were suddenly on the chopping block with little warning. The tech overhaul was just as radical, replacing legacy systems with cloud solutions and AI automation. Outdated mainframes were scrapped, and digital infrastructure became the new backbone of government. Leaders like Airbnb's Joe Gebbia were tapped to digitize core government functions, bringing private sector expertise and a startup mentality to public administration. The goal: make government as seamless and efficient as a top-tier app while slashing costs. Citizens would interact with government services as easily as ordering a ride or booking a room. DOGE's ambition was to force the federal government into the digital age fast. The stakes were enormous, and the world was watching to see if this trillion-dollar ambition could truly deliver on its promise. Musk's leadership of DOGE was pure spectacle. Chainsaw metaphors, headline-grabbing stunts, and bold claims. He boasted of saving billions by axing diversity, equity, and inclusion contracts, sparking fierce debate. Whether the numbers were real or not, the message was clear: Doge would target even the most sensitive areas. Musk's tenure ended with a theatrical White House ceremony and a golden key from President Trump, but his exit was triggered by a public feud over congressional spending, exposing the limits of Doge's power. Musk stayed on as an informal advisor, but the clash revealed the tension between radical reform and political reality. Even with star power, some Washington doors stayed locked. Doge's drama turned bureaucratic reform into must-watch political theater, but the real battle was just beginning. Doge's self-reported savings, $175 billion, became a central part of its story. Supporters cheered, but independent audits found only a fraction, about $32.50 billion, could be verified. The gap exposed Doge's lack of transparency and fueled skepticism. Meanwhile, Congress passed new spending bills that dwarfed Doge's claimed savings. The initiative's achievements, real or exaggerated, were often overshadowed by legislative realities. Doge's narrative of massive savings persisted even as evidence lagged behind. Allegations of fraud and abuse were publicized but never substantiated. In the end, Doge's impact was as much about shaping public perception as actual dollars saved. The numbers game became a PR campaign. The true measure of success was how Doge changed the conversation about government waste. Doge's most lasting impact wasn't financial, it was cultural. Musk called it a sort of Buddhism, a mindset of relentless efficiency. After Musk, Doge operatives became permanent federal employees, spreading their ethos from within. Early recruits like Luke Ferriter and Ethan Chautran took key roles at the General Services Administration. The mission shifted from confrontation to collaboration, as Doge alumni formed networks across agencies. Leaders like Thomas Shedd and Catherine Eschbach took charge of tech transformation and downsizing efforts. The Doge way became embedded in daily government life, blending disruption with cooperation. Even small things, like basketball games between Doge staff and agency veterans, signaled a new, less adversarial culture. The focus moved from just cutting to persuading and converting. Efficiency became a shared value, not just an outside imposition. The Buddhism of bureaucracy was taking root. Doge's aggressive, secretive tactics sparked fierce backlash. Critics decried its lack of oversight and accused it of partisan overreach. Musk's dual role as reformer and government contractor raised conflict of interest alarms. Lawsuits from unions and state attorneys general challenged Doge's legality and authority. Some court rulings blocked its boldest moves, but others upheld its access to sensitive data and shielded it under executive privilege. The legal battles defined the limits of Doge's power and slowed its most radical reforms. Musk's political entanglements even hurt Tesla's sales, showing the personal cost of his crusade. The controversies made clear transforming government isn't just about efficiency, it's about power, transparency, and trust. Doge's future would be shaped as much in courtrooms as in boardrooms. The fight for control of the bureaucracy was far from over. Musk's departure didn't end Doge, it decentralized it. Without a single leader, Doge operatives quietly embedded themselves deep within the bureaucracy. Many transitioned from temporary advisors to permanent managers, especially in agencies like the GSA. The GSA became a hub for Doge's ongoing mission, influencing procurement, tech, and hiring. Trusted Musk lieutenants like Thomas Shedd and Catherine Eschbach took charge of key reforms. The strategy shifted from shock therapy to systemic internal change. Doge's influence became harder to track, less an organization, more an ideology. Its values lived on in new policies, procurement rules, and performance metrics. The Buddhism Musk spoke of was now a quiet, persistent force in government. The revolution had gone underground, but it was far from over. Doge's ethos is now embedded in the federal government's DNA. New hires must pledge allegiance to efficiency, starting with their job applications. Agencies like the CDC and HHS have adopted strict oversight and defend the spend initiatives. Technology is central. The IRS is modernizing with Palantir, using AI to overhaul tax enforcement. The Social Security Administration is digitizing at scale, led by Doge-influenced leadership. At the GSA, Doge staffers are rewriting the rule books from within. The result? A government remade in the image of a lean, data-driven tech company. The changes are no longer proposals, they're standard operating procedure. The Buddhism of bureaucracy is now reality. As the dust settles, Doge's legacy is taking shape, complex, controversial, and unfinished. The echoes of its reforms ripple through every level of government, sparking debate and reflection about what was gained, what was lost, and what the future might hold. The initiative fell short of its grandest savings, ultimately dwarfed by new congressional spending and the relentless demands of a growing nation. Yet its influence lingers in the halls of power, but its deeper impact is cultural. A new generation of tech-savvy reformers now shapes policy from within, bringing fresh ideas and a willingness to challenge old assumptions. The war on waste is now a permanent feature of government, not just a passing campaign. Efficiency and innovation have become rallying cries woven into the fabric of public service. Critics warn that relentless efficiency could hollow out essential services and narrow government's role, leaving vulnerable communities at risk and vital programs underfunded. The attack on DEI and agencies like USAID signals a shift toward a more transactional state where measurable outcomes are prized over broader missions of equity and aid. Doge's story is disruption meeting tradition. Silicon Valley logic in the halls of power, where algorithms and data now shape decisions once guided by instinct and experience. Musk is gone, but his followers and reforms remain, continuing to push boundaries and redefine what government can be. Whether this leads to a leaner, better government or a colder, less responsive one is still unknown. The nation watches, divided as the consequences unfold. The experiment continues, now mostly out of sight, but its effects are felt in every corner of American life.